And I now have a couple of guests in with me, and I am delighted that they're here for the evening. So we're going to hear about two powerful projects landing on screens near you imminently. The first film, White Nanny, Black Child, explores the story of over 70,000 West African children who were fostered unofficially by white British families between 1955 and 1995 as their parents pursued dreams of a better life in Britain. And the second, Untold Stories, Hair on Set, and it paints an intimate picture of the experiences of black talent on TV and film sets. I'm really delighted to welcome to the scene film producer and director Andy Mundy Castle, and welcome back to the scene Jordan Pitt. Welcome along.
How you doing? Thanks for having us.
Good evening. Welcome. We were just gassing, and 6 degrees of separation in life, right?
Crazy.
So many people that
1
we
degree of separation.
True. Very true. 1 degree of separation. Well, here you are, and we've got some fantastic projects under your belts, which we're going to talk about this evening. And Jordan, you were here not too long ago, so if your name is familiar to listeners, at the time we were talking about entrepreneurship because you do so many things. So it's wonderful to have you back talking about one of your projects, your film projects.
Yep.
So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And are you on good form this evening? You're well fed, watered and happy to be here.
Well fed, watered. Definitely happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
That's what I like
back.
to hear. Great stuff. And Andy, we are people that have, I feel like we've crossed paths a number of times, but I don't know that we've ever spent time together on set or on air or anything like that. So it's lovely to have you in front of me.
It's a pleasure to be here. It's a real pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm at home.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Get your socks, your socks off, I was going to say. Your feet up, but maybe not. So, Andy, let's start with the project, which is called White Nanny, Black Child. And I mean, that's a really descriptive title anyway, and a bit of a passion project. So I described there this passage of 70,000 West African children fostered unofficially by white British families. Some people describe that as farming. That's a term that it's also known as. But for people that are unfamiliar with that was taking place between 55 and 95, just tell us what was happening there.
Well, this is a story really of West African migration. So it wasn't just Nigeria. It was many countries across the West African continent, predominantly from West Africa. You know, it was kind of post-independence when Britain was saying, come over here to the motherland. Many people were taking that up and, you know, coming here to study, work. And really, this was a phenomenon that was an affordable means to childcare. You know, I'm here this evening. Fortunately, my wife is looking after the kids this evening. But if we were both out, we'd have to kind of make sure we made do with paying a nanny. However, if you are studying through the day, working by night in a new foreign land as a migrant, you would, an economic migrant for that, you know, you would look for means to kind of make sure your children were looked after. Now, we know sort of from West Africa, you're always seeing Britain as a place of, oh, you know, it's the Queen's land, you know. So the parents that were given their children over thought, well, we're handing our children over to people who were just like the Queen. When in fact, these were lower working class families that predominantly would have taken privately fostered the children. So really the phenomenon is about, you know, for me, it was just kind of a byproduct of migration. And for so long we've heard about the Windrush and the Caribbean migration. My inspiration for telling this story is we've very rarely heard about what happened and when did West Africans actually come here. And just to correct you or not correct you, but just to sort of say that number of 70,000, we actually don't, it could have been a hell of a lot more.
Yeah.
It could have been so much more. I think there was a sort of study done and the numbers across those decades is kind of, you know, because it was unregulated, we could be looking at
Yeah.
100,000.
So many people will have fallen between the cracks and not been accounted for. I have to say, it's one of those things where, you know, as a woman of a certain age, I have a lot of...
21.
That's the one. I have a lot of friends who experience this. People very, very close to me in my life who experience this as well. And as a result of that, it is a phenomenon that I am familiar with. But I like the fact that you are coming from this, telling this story, perhaps from a different angle, a different perspective. And often when this story has been told before, it's about an individual and we kind of go on their journey. But you've brought together a number of individuals, and I bet that that was a really special moment, but also very powerful. Tell us about your approach to this way of telling the story.
Like yourself, I had a lot of people who were telling me that, you know, it was one of those things like, you know, when you buy a new car and you think you're the only person with that car, but then like you see five other of them along the street. I had lots of friends within a very short space of time talking to me about this thing. And this was, they were privately fostered by a white family. And we're not, you know, a handful of friends, you know, but it just made me think, actually, there's something to be unearthed here. And then when I dug deeper and found out that there wasn't much to go by, there wasn't much research, there wasn't many studies, it made me want to dig deeper into that truth, into that story. And so as I started looking around, I realized the number and the depth of how many people this affected. And I thought that the best way in dealing with this, because I'd gone on several retreats myself with other people who were dealing with identity or dealing with things that were important to them, I felt like the most honest and genuine thing to do was to get a group of people who could act as a cross-section of the thousands of people that I couldn't tell the stories of. So you know that, you know, an optimum number for any group study is sort of between 9 and 12 people. And eventually we ended up with a group of 9 people who came together in a sharing circle, which also harks back to a West African tradition of the griot. You know, we tell stories in circles, in sharing circles, and that's how things were passed on through culture. So for me, it was kind of, there was a sort of dual-handed thing of trying to do something that felt akin to us, but also do something that was accessible to others. A sharing circle, you know, however you choose to do that. People coming together are going to be powerful in their sharing. I want to focus on healing. I really wanted to focus on healing because I think that so many people are very quick to pass blame on things like this.
Yes.
You know, and historical things which you can't really attach anything to. It's easy to just write it off as, oh, that was a problem for this person, or that was a problem, you know, pushed on somebody in this way. So I was in Germany recently with the film, and someone said, "Oh, were you ever inclined to tell the story of the white savior in that point?" And I said, "Well, actually, this wasn't a story of white saviorship. You know, this was actually people coming here and needed an affordable means to look after their children." And so there were so many complexities, and I felt by an array of voices we'd be able to tell a very true, honest and transparent story that just reflected the lives of people.
It sounds extremely powerful. And as you said, there's often, I think, a lot of judgment when talking about this particular subject and this phenomenon. And but there are so many individual experiences within that. So I'm really fascinated to see the work. And you know, we'll continue this conversation some more in a moment. But one of the things you talked about there was identity, and that also ties in very nicely with the next film that we're going to touch on, which is Untold Stories, Hair on Set. And Jordan, you're one of the directors of this.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I saw the trailer for this one as well, and I know, of course, Andy, you're executive producer on this film as well. Again, it ties into identity. Was this experience of predominantly, I would say, women going on set, but correct me if I'm wrong with regard to your film, was this experience that they were having, being othered because of their hair, something that you were familiar with? How did it feel kind of going in and telling this story through directorial eyes?
Funny enough, initially it wasn't something that I thought of it to be a problem. So I co-directed it with Fola Evans Akambola, an actress, and my co-director, and that initial reaching out and that conversation about it all, it really kind of revealed a lot for me personally of how much, my when I had hair, my lack of expectation of even wanting to get my hair done. I'd go there like with my hair already done, and just that.
So that was your experience. So you because you're a man of many talents, acting being one of them.
Yes.
And so when you were rocking a fro, let's say.
When I had my fro,
when you
I
had
my
your
plaits,
fro.
when,
It's gone to his beard now.
You would turn up with your hair done because you just didn't expect for it to get done on set.
It didn't even cross my mind
That
because
it would get done. Wow.
I think last couple of years is the first time I even saw a black barber on set, and as the documentary explores, it's not even necessarily about white or black, it's about the correct knowledge, and like I said, in that initial conversation I had with Fola, it really did resonate with me, and that's why I wanted to go on the journey with her and shed some light on it.
Can you tell us about some of the people that you met along the way that were sharing their stories? Was there anyone whose experience particularly stuck out to you?
I think in general, I know it's going to sound cheesy, but all of them were quite prominent. And, the fact that actors are still having to endure this in 2023 is absolute madness. And, is all of different levels. So it's not something that could just other and say, oh, this isn't a big problem. The reason why we got so much track, this started off as a 5-minute piece, which then went into a 10-minute, 20-minute, and now we've got like a full broadcast hour. And, thankfully so many people were willing to get involved and give their time, which, thankfully expanded the piece. But, conversely, it's really sad.
Yeah. And it really makes an impact. Personally speaking, as someone who presents on radio but also on TV, I've absolutely found myself in scenarios where I've gone on and kind of thought, right, well, there's not going to be a conversation around my hair, so let me try and figure this out. And when you've got natural afro curly hair and the weather is doing all sorts of different things, you might start your piece with one hairstyle and end your piece with another. If there was someone on set that was able to help you maintain your level of confidence when you're presenting whatever it is that you're doing, will actually be, again, maintained. It can really impact on how you feel about what you're doing when your hair is kind of doing something alternative to what you had intended it to.
Yeah.
So it might sound like just a silly thing to some people, but it can really hamper what it is you're trying to do. And I guess when you're on a film set as well, it's a creative environment. You're being dressed up, you're having your makeup done. It's just another element of something that should be done. And yet here we are, 2023, having this conversation. Andy, what was your approach and your feeling on making this film? Was this again something that you were really familiar with, or was it news to you as well?
No, I mean, look, I looked at this project when the team first kind of told me they were making it, and one of my very first things when having creative conversations was that this is a microcosm of what we're facing from a systemic point of view in society. This is, just because it's happening on a film set doesn't mean it's not replicated throughout society.
Yeah.
And we see it time and time again in so many different facets right across industries where issues just arise simply because people can't deal with the diversity of blackness or the diversity of people of African heritage, and I think that here we have a very nuanced position and quite expertly directed by Fola and Jordan as their debut project. It's kind of well beyond their years in terms of how they manage to deal with this very nuanced issue and show the complexities of it, because I think that if we are going to make people learn or take them on a journey, you've got to really be able to sort of say, right, let's walk you through this and understand my pain, see the person behind this little trivial issue. We're not just talking about any old actors here. These are the people that are at the top of their game. These are Hollywood stars, 7-figure deals. These aren't people that are trying on the breadline, sort of trying to make it work. These are people working on our best known shows. Yeah. And I think that if they are having that problem, let's think about the hostile environment that people at the beginning of their journeys are dealing with. And so I was looking at it from that point of view. How do we talk about this micro issue, but really sort of spread it into something that is a macro problem?
Now, I first saw this project on LinkedIn, actually, one of those platforms that I like to hang around on. And since then, I've seen one of the big people at Sky talking about some of the changes that they are going to be making, because this is in connection with Sky, isn't it? It's going to be on their platform.
Yes.
And I've seen some news about ensuring that on the sets that they have, they're going to make sure that there are makeup artists and hairstylists that are able to do black hair and black makeup.
Yep.
I mean, talk about impact. How does that make you feel, Jordan, knowing that this is actually having an actual feasible impact?
Yeah, look, it's an amazing feeling, just because the amount that this project means to us. There's myself and Fola, and also Lee Daly, our co-producer. We've been working on this for a while, and for it to come from a 5-minute piece to where it is now, to have such an impact. I mean, we've always just said this is our contribution to change.
Yeah.
We haven't got the answers. We're not saying that, we're setting out to be the big change makers, but this is our contribution and our voice and kind of how we see it. So the fact that it's able to be part of such an initiative is humbling. And I think other broadcasters and production companies should follow suit, because as I said, we've been talking about diversity for so long, and all these, like, why do we still need to talk about it? Like, just do it.
Yeah.
It can't be that hard.
And I just got to say on that point that the head honcho that you were talking about is a guy called Zai Bennett, who's the managing director of content at Sky. And, the kind of relationship between Sky and this project started with a very open and honest conversation that I had with him about what they were doing. It so happened that they had their own initiative anyway. And it was kind of, this project was almost, when we spoke to their diverse leads and everybody who was internal, it was very clear that this project was almost like a gift to what they had already been on a journey with, So it comes on Sky this Sunday the 1st. So it'll be on Sky On Demand for everybody to tune into. Untold Stories here on set.
Sky documentaries, and then Now TV, streaming on Now TV.
You've done this before, because I was going to ask you that. You've already done it. Lovely.
But I should tell you about White Nanny.
Well, go on, because that's what I was going to say. I was going to segue, but you've done it. Go for it.
For anybody who is in Brixton this Sunday the 1st of October, it's Nigerian Independence Day at Brixton Ritzy. White Nanny, Black Child will be showing at 5 p.m. There are only few tickets left, so you better go and get them quickly if you're listening in now. And then it is also broadcast on Channel 5, Tuesday the 3rd of October at 10 o'clock. So as many people that can tune in to find out about this very unique slice of British history, the better.
Brilliant stuff. Andy, Jordan, it's a real pleasure to have you, and congratulations on your really impactful, important work. Thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Thanks again.
Thank you very much. I'll come back home.